So welcome everybody to today's live session. Today we are privileged to have the team from Esri, and they'll able to show us how to access Digital Africa products in Africa GeoPortal, in also including the access to water observation from space, and even show some highlights on some of the use case in terms of flooding. And this is just one of the live sessions today in English. And the next week, my colleague Joseph will be here, and we'll have the English and French respectively. Please introduce the team from Esri. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi, Ken. Welcome, everybody. Thanks, Ken and Digital Earth for inviting us to speak today. Welcome, everybody. During this session today, we will showcase the data and tools accessible to you on Africa GeoPortal. And also how you combine the tools and the Digital Earth Africa data setting tools together with Esri configurable applications to analyze floods, monitor floods, look at events, look at monitoring current conditions, and report on the impact to land and people. And as Ken was saying, this is the first in 3 sessions that we're running today in English, but if you're more comfortable with French or Arabic, then please join us next week. After introducing our speakers, I'll just quickly go over the concept of Africa GeoPortal. Then I'll hand over to my colleagues who will walk us through data and tools available to you. And then we'll finish with a use case on how the technology and data can be used to analyze and monitor floods and create actionable information. And then at the end, we hopefully have some time for a live Q&A session to help answer your questions. So, quick introduction. I have 3 colleagues who are joining me today. My name is Lorian Innes. I've been working with GIS and natural resources for over 25 years. And I've been with Esri for nearly 15. And I'm the business development manager coordinating Esri's activities across Eastern, South, and Southern Africa. I'm working with our regional customers and organizations in this geography. And I'd like to hand over to my colleague Pauline to introduce herself.
Thank you, Lorraine. So my name is Karim Asim. I'm the business development manager for West and North Africa. I've been with Esri for the past 6 months. And yeah, working with our customers and partners in West Africa, North Africa.
Thank you, Karim. And lastly, Matthew.
Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Great to be with you. Matt Pennells, Director for Global Community Engagement. So I work with organizations at the industry and community level around the world. And one of the partnerships obviously we have is between Esri and GEO, the group on Earth observation, of which Digital Earth Africa is one of their work programs. And so working with Digital Earth Africa team over the last few years has been a great pleasure. So look forward to seeing what we have to share today. Thanks, Lorian.
Thanks, Matt. So to quickly start us off, so Africa GeoPortal was established a number of years ago now to support innovation in Africa and to remove the barriers to having access to geospatial technology. Through Africa GeoPortal, we can advance spatial literacy and support our users in Africa to discover and explore, analyze, create and share information through the power of maps and inspire communities through geography. So Africa GeoPortal is free to use and anyone working in or on Africa can sign up. And in a nutshell, Africa GeoPortal provides you with data, geospatial tools and tutorials so that you can apply the power of maps to address your local or regional challenges. And it really contains 3 components. First of all, the first pillar of Africa GeoPortal is really the data. And the data in Africa GeoPortal comes from 4 different sources. First and foremost, it contains data curated by Esri. And for those of you familiar with Esri's Living Atlas, this is the Living Atlas data, but then specifically the data focused on Africa. And secondly, we work with a number of regional and global contributors to provide data to Africa GeoPortal. And this includes Digital Earth Africa, who provide their data sets and tools to the platform. We also work with national governments to help amplify their open data on Africa GeoPortal through national geos portals, and we'll have a look at that today as well. And we're using a system of systems approach in this respect, so that as much as possible, we leave data where it is, and we're referencing open data from other areas and bring it in to Africa GeoPortal to make it widely accessible to people across Africa without duplicating efforts, but also to reduce your carbon footprint. And then the fourth contributor to the data is you, the users. So anybody who has access to Africa GeoPortal can contribute data to the wider African user community. The second pillar of Africa GeoPortal is really the capabilities, the geospatial tools and capabilities that you have access to when you log on to the platform. And you can do this using your browser. You can create maps, you can perform spatial analysis, or create applications like dashboards or story maps or instant apps to share your findings with stakeholders across communities or the wider public. You can also make use of some of our field data collection tools, like Survey123, to collect data in the field and contribute that data to the platform. And the third pillar really is the Learn Center and the tutorials, the education or capability and capacity development side. We have a number of tutorials that you would have access to, tutorials as well as learn lessons. This will help you either to get started with geospatial technology and GIS, or to help you advance with your existing knowledge. And we have developed, in collaboration with Digital Earth Africa, 3 specific lessons on imagery that are highlighted here on the left of the screen. So some of you might have seen Africa GeoPortal a while ago, or maybe more recently. We're trying to keep improving on Africa GeoPortal constantly by working with the contributors to have access to more data, but also to create further content and learn lessons. So over the years, we keep updating and including more data sets. So we've enabled loaded the coastline monitoring service from Digital Earth Africa, water observations from space, and we're working on other data sets as well. Also, we're planning to do more learn lessons to improve on what we already have and keep expanding. And over the last couple of years, we also build out a section specifically for agriculture, where you'll find data sets, webinars, as well as some use cases. And lastly, we created some user stories to showcase to you how others have benefited from using Africa GeoPortal. With that, I just really want to hand over to Pauline to take us through the platform Africa GeoPortal, as well as Digital Earth Africa portal and the tools and data available to you. So please, Pauline, let me hand over to you.
So to get to the GeoPortal, if you go to geoportal.com, you'll find that landing page. So as I was saying, creating an account on the GeoPortal is possible by coming to the Get Started link here, which will launch you to the page for creating an account. You can use your social media accounts to create your GeoPortal account or your email address. After you go through that process, you'll receive an email with the next steps on how to activate your account. Once you activate your account, you're able to come to have access to different components of the GeoPortal, which I'll just navigate from. So you're able to create maps, data, and other data published by other people. With the maps, you're able to visualize information on a web map and share it out for use. Other things you're able to create are web scenes, which provide a 3-dimensional context in terms of viewing and interacting with your data. From web scenes, it's possible to overlay data, visualize it over time, and also share them out for use with other people. A GeoPortal account allows you to manage content within the GeoPortal. You can have your own data, as I mentioned. You can have different layers within them, and from there you can create web maps, web scenes, applications, and so on. To create applications, we have embedded or we have included application templates that you can use to share out your maps and provide a more interactive experience for your users or for your audience who are consuming your maps. So we'll just explore a few applications that are available within the GeoPortal that you could use. One application is a dashboard. Dashboards provide a quick glance or allow you to provide a quick glance of your data and provide an interactive experience of being able to query information on a map and use different ways to understand the underlying information as well as relationships. In this case, looking at one of the datasets from Africa, it's possible to explore this information by different extents. So in the case of Republic of the Congo, we get an understanding of what is the extent of the shoreline, how much it has advanced, or it advances over time, how much it has retreated over time, and other information that will be of use. Another application you can create on the GeoPortal is a story map, which provide a means for you to provide a narrative or sense of your information in a narrative format. So within the GeoPortal, you can combine different kinds of maps and media and text to create your story map and provide a narrative of your data. So in this relies on a data set from Africa on the changing coastlines. You're able to provide context on some of the changes that have been there. So we have various map elements and other elements.
Pauline, we seem to have lost you there.
Yeah, we lost you. Yeah.
So within the GeoPortal, also, other than the tools that you've seen that are available, we provided access.
Pauline, can you go back? We've lost you again. Just bear with us for a few seconds while we hope to get Pauline back on audio.
I see there's a question in the chat while we're waiting for Pauline to join, and Ken's already answered it. If there's any other questions, obviously we can handle those while we wait for Pauline.
Sorry about that. Seems to have lost my connection. Please let me know where I may have left off, then I'll pick it up from there.
Pauline, you were in the story map talking about the different components and different applications that are in there.
Thank you, Lorianne. So as mentioning, with the story map, you're able to put together text, media such as videos, photos, and so on, as well as embed applications that you've created within the GeoPortal, such as web maps and web applications, and provide that overall narrative of the information that you have. In this case, we have a story map on the changing coastline within Africa, whereby we were able to combine different ways in trying to look at how the sections where we have retreating coastlines and growing coastlines, as well as the impact of change within different regions, such as the Mediterranean, West Africa, and Southern Africa, and so on. So with story maps, we are able to provide that holistic view and context to any applications that you have through a narrative. Within the GeoPortal, other than the tools that I've mentioned, we also have worked with partners in the region to provide access to content. These could be national partners or national agencies, whereby we've supported them to disseminate content specific to their countries. For example, we've worked with national mapping agencies, national statistics agencies, and environmental agencies in different countries to provide access to this information. We've also worked with partners in the region to provide access to content. So we just focus on the Digital Earth Africa space within the GeoPortal. From this point, we've supported or worked together with Africa to provide access to their content that is already available or shared through the GeoPortal. Through our relationship, we have ready-to-use applications for exploring this content, but also direct access to data in the form of layers, applications, and maps, which can be used within the GeoPortal and beyond. So I'll just explore some of these applications moving forward. Starting with the Digital Earth Africa Explorer, this is a point of exploring or interacting with imagery that is from the Digital Earth Africa data cube. Within the Explorer, we have access to different layers that you can work with. Where you can see that we have a number of layers or imagery that can be visualized and explored from the GeoPortal or through the Explorer app. An example is the Sentinel-2 annual GeoMud, which is a composite of imagery from 2014 or 2017 to date. So if you focus on one of the areas where the Africa was able to conduct analysis, we can look at how a section or that area looks like at different times and so on. Again, we can do comparisons to different times. If I just step back to 2021, we'll be able to see that
Aline, sorry, lost you again.
I wasn't sure if I was still connected, but yes. So you'll be able to step back and see the changes that have taken place. Again, we are able to change the rendering on the fly, whereby through different band combinations, we are able to highlight areas based on where there might be different changes and so on. So if you're looking at Sulunga, Lake Sulunga or Bahi Swamp, again, we can step back and see the changes that have been there. And this can provide context that will be important for decision makers when planning for mitigative measures. As you've seen, where I was able to step back to 2019, comparing it to 2020, and if we look forward to 2021, we'll see that the water extent of this lake has grown over time, meaning that persistently or progressively, the water extent is changing. So if we have decision makers who might want to see any settlements that are affected, within the Explorer application, it's possible to add data from the GeoPortal. As you can see, I have data from one of our partners, that is Grid 3, and we can see settlements that were mapped from their analysis are being indicated there. So you can see as the water extent is growing, we have a number of settlements which are facing risk of being fully submerged in water. Another dataset that can be explored within the GeoAfrica Explorer are the Landsat imagery, the entire catalog from 1972 moving forward. And we can use it to do comparisons or do analysis based on different variables. In this case, we are looking at a town within Ghana, which if we look at 1986, from the Explorer, we can see that this was the extent of the city, but over time, this changes. With the Explorer app, we're able to do comparisons between two different periods. So here, in this case, I've selected the image we had or the scene we had for 1986 compared to my right image here for January 2023. And with the swipe tool, I'm able to see how that town has changed over time. So for this particular town is quite known for the case of mining, and you can see how advancements or progressions in mining has changed the extent and the influence it has over the surrounding area in terms of the environment. So a lot of that analysis, we've been able to document it and made it available through tutorials. So for the tutorials, we have them that help you, or you can go through to learn how to explore imagery through the Explorer, perform change detection, or do advanced analysis. So you can go through the tutorials, they're accessible through the site and also from our main site on Esri. So using the GeoAfrica imagery applications that we worked on together, we can use it together with other applications within the GeoPortal to collectively support efforts around some of the challenges we have within Africa. So an example is the case of flooding, which I believe many of us are facing across the continent, whereby we can combine different layers within the GeoPortal or from GeoAfrica and other tools within the GeoPortal to be able to address some of these challenges. So in this case, I have zoomed to an area within Kenya called Garissa. This is to the northeast part of Kenya, a very arid area, but there's a river that cuts across the town. This river has a strong effect on the town, whereby whenever we have increased rainfall in the area, the river extent tends to increase and it has an effect on the area. So we can first explore the river extent over time. And in this case, I'm using the water observations from space layer from GeoAfrica. As you can see, 1984, that was the river extent. But if we just come forward to 2016 and keep on moving forward, you'll see that the extent of the river keeps on growing. If we look at 2020 from the WAPS layer, we're able to see how far the river extent reached when we had very high rate of flooding in the area, which displaced about 200,000 people, where their livelihoods were affected because the farmlands were submerged and livestock was swept away. And from here, at least we can see that kind of impact just using the WAPS layer. But with more recent data or near real-time information, again, we can use the Explorer to be able to look at it. So just looking at the Sentinel-2 imagery, we'll focus on May 2024. During this time, there was a flood in Kenya, or most parts of Kenya were under flooding, and I've just applied rendering. Let me just change that. of shortwave infrared, whereby we can see the flood extent around the city or around the town. If I compare it to just a month before that rain season, we'll be able to see the kind of influence or the kind of do that kind of comparison to see how it was before the floods and how it was after the floods. Just allow it to load there. So as you can see, just before and just after, you can see how much of the lands have been submerged and the kind of effect that's there. So within the Explorer application, once we get this kind of information, it is possible to create a mask and export this information and use it within the GeoPortal. So when exported, it can be used together with other information and using applications we have within the GeoPortal to provide useful information. So in this case, the county that covers Garissa town can use the application or can use this information for the purpose of preparedness, whereby it's possible to use the flood extent and be able to determine how many households have been affected, which as I pan, you're able to see based on the extent, how many households have been affected, learning facilities, hospitals, businesses, road extents, and croplands, which are indicated in green, that are affected by flooding. Also, using other information from the county, it's possible to compute the cost of temporary shelter, cost of construction of permanent shelter, should we need to relocate some of these households, the cost of repairing the roads, and looking at how many jobs or how many livelihoods tied to agriculture will be impacted. Again, it's possible to identify this information, also look at this information in the context of response categories, whereby we can see how much is under watch, minor, moderate, and so on. So just using information from the Africa Explorer together with other data, which could be from OpenStreetMap or other authoritative data, it's possible to provide this kind of context in terms of planning or preparedness, and also flood response if needed. So other than supporting preparedness, it's also good to be able to predict what will likely happen in future. So within the GeoPortal, we have the Streamlaw Forecast Viewer, which is powered by the GeoGlows forecasting data that provides context on, or forecasting context of up to 8 days forward on stream flow. So this is just getting information in real time or near real time from stream gauges and being able to predict what would be the expected stream flow over the next few days. So for example, if you look at Garissa and this specific extent, when I click on that section, we'll have we will have some information popping up. Let me just click on that again. So just looking at this extent, we can have this being forecasted, which you can see that over the next 8 days, we expect the stream flow to increase up to 120 centimeters over time. So you can see this is still not risky for that particular, or for the next expected days, but you might find that over time, if the amount would have gone a bit higher, reaching at thresholds of 2 years, 10 years, 25 or 50 years, then the city will be at risk and maybe the county will need to apply some of the mitigative measures or some of the measures in terms of preparedness to be able to address upcoming challenges. So this data set is global, and for Africa GeoPortal, we provided it at continental context. Again, if you're looking at other areas across Africa, for example, if we look at Nigeria, we can see that here we have a stream that seems to be experiencing increased flows at the moment, above average at, I believe, a 2-year threshold. With the with the Streamflow viewer, again, you're able to view the changes over time. As you can see, if I play the animation there, you can see the changes that would happen as the water extent changes. So we can move from areas that are to watch to see for how long that section would be experiencing increased stream flow. This is an application available on the GeoPortal that you can use together with other information that you have just to get that context on how you can prepare for floods and be able to address challenges that are around that. So other than just knowing the cases of flooding and how we can use other data, we have the water bodies data set from the Africa that you can also use to see what are the water extents within Africa and how this is affecting the surrounding areas. This is a regional continental level data set with all the water bodies that have been mapped by the Africa. And you can use it for different areas of application. So in this case, if we zoom to one of the lakes in Kenya again, we have Lake Baringo, which over the years, the water extent has been growing. So in this case, we can see that with the water or with the lake very close to it or on the shores, we have different settlements around it. We have education institutions that are also very close to the lake and medical facilities. We also have businesses. In this case, this is very famous for the tourism, whereby we have different hotels that are actually located around the lake. So using the water bodies data set, it's possible to look at how the water extent has changed over time, whereby in this case on the graph, we're seeing the surface area that has been classified as wet from this analysis and how it has changed over time. We can see at this point in 1994, where there was drought that was experienced in the area, how the surface area classified as wet was quite low, but you've also seen that over time it has been growing because the lake extent has been growing. Again, we can look at this in terms of percentage, whereby we are seeing what percent of the entire water body has been classified as wet. And these provide useful insights in terms of getting an understanding of the different water bodies we have, the extent and how it affects the surrounding population and infrastructure in place. So all of these are just some of the ways that the GeoPortal is providing access to content. In this case, we are focusing on content that was shared by the Africa. We've seen also how you can use different applications within the GeoPortal in different ways to be able to get situational awareness, where we've seen how it can be applied in the context of preparedness or flood response, how you can use it to provide a narrative, whereby we've looked at how story maps can be used together with other media to provide context on events, and how you can use it together with other applications, such as the Streamflow viewer we have within the GeoPortal to help you address cases in flooding. With that, I'll hand it over back to Lorian. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pauline, for that excellent overview. I think we would like to now move on to Q&A session. And I'm glad we still have quite a bit of time for that. So maybe I can just get a slide up here and we can start with the Q&A. So please, if there's questions, please pop them in the chat, or can people come offline, off mute, Ken?
C'est possible, yes.
So let's open the floor for questions.
So perhaps if there's no question, you can also ask them as well.
Yeah, and I believe that Matt had a couple of things too that he wants to add as well, if there was any time left available. What I did put up here is the resources, so some of the links that we looked at and shared during Pauline's overview. Africa GeoPortal, the link to the Digital Earth Africa page, and the demo that she just walked through. There's actually a story map that outlines this, that we have highlighted here as well on the slide with the QR code that people can have a look at. But Matt, I believe you had some
Yeah, thanks,
comments.
Dorian, and thank you, Pauline. Yeah, I guess it was just we focused on the flooding example for today, and thanks for Pauline to walking through that. But if there's any other data sets that you want to sort of integrate with Digital Earth Africa data, what's missing, let us know. We have a large resources of data, and we can go talk to partners as well. So let us know either in the chat or by contacting us through the Africa GeoPortal, whichever channel you have, to let us know the other major data sets that you think are missing if you want to do deeper analysis within the environmental space, like we've seen examples here today, or further demographic data. For example, already integrated is the Grid 3 data. There's the OpenStreetMap data that we saw a little bit of. That's available as a feature service. You can actually ask questions of the individual OpenStreetMap building blocks, so buildings and roads and assets and so forth. So those are in there, but what's missing is one key thing that we're always happy for feedback around. And also then, what Pauline and Lorian both highlighted, the other tools that are available. So if you're bringing Digital Earth Africa data and you want to show that to your boss, you want to show it to your professor, then explore tools like the dashboards. We've seen some examples of those. They're easy to configure. None of this requires coding. It's all low code, no code type configuration. Dashboards or story maps, or similar sort of what we have, a briefing template, which is a bit like a PowerPoint template. They're all accessible via the Africa GeoPortal free account. So have a think about how you could use your Digital Earth Africa data plus the analysis you're carrying out on top of it, and create outputs, decisions, or suggested decisions that you can then tell a story around, and get those in front of the decision makers. So those are the 2 points I was just going to highlight, Lorian. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. And please, if there's any questions, just let us know now or connect with us after. The other thing I wanted to make people aware is, obviously you can just go and sign up, go to Africa GeoPortal, link your Yahoo or Gmail or other email account, and you can get started. Other things we wanted to make you aware of, that there is several massive online open courses that we are constantly running, which provide you access to a 6-week training course, basically in your own time. You sign up, get access to the technology, and you get access to all the learned lessons that you can do in your own time for that period. And these are sometimes they're capability based, sometimes it's around like spatial analysis, sometimes it's around AI, or sometimes these are thematic. Like, for example, there was a big massive open online course on climate action last year, and I think again in 2025. So I would say keep an eye out if you're interested in learning more on how to use the tools in a bit more structured approach, then please look out for those massive open online courses. And lastly, please meet us during events. We have regional user conferences across Africa where you can meet up with us. We're always at the RIC conference in Nairobi every year, as well as other events across the geo events across the continent, local geo events, AfriGeo, as well as UNGGIM. We have a representation there next week in Addis. Yeah, I just wanted to hand over to Pauline if she has any other closing remarks.
Maybe the thing I could add is that with the tutorials that I mentioned they support various languages. So you should be able to access also in French. And beyond the one that I mentioned on the Africa, we also have other tutorials on how you can put together some of the applications that I have mentioned. And
Yeah, thanks, really.
yeah,
That's
it.
That's a really good point to raise. So thank you for raising that, because of course it's important that when you create an application, you are able to localize it. So that is possible with a number of the out-of-the-box configurable applications that you can use. Yeah, and I think so. We have 2 more of these in localized, one in French and one in Arabic in the next couple of weeks. So I think if there's no further questions, Ken, let me hand back to you.
Thank you so much, team from Esri, Lorraine, Pauline, and Matthews, for inspiring us. Africa GeoPortal is quite a big resource, and it's very possible now that you can access also the Digital Africa tools and services. And also with the same, you can see another ecosystem of data services that can actually help you in making the informed decision. From the examples, just as a summary, we had how you can access the Africa GeoPortal, free access with your email, as well accessing the Digital Africa datasets, as well as some of the examples that were covered from Lake Sulunga in Tanzania, where we are looking at the water observation from space. We had the example of land use in the example of Efaduse in Ghana, where there's a lot of land degradation. We also had the other example of flooding in Kenya early this year in April, May, where we were shown an example of Garissa, and also how the Africa GeoPortal has gone ahead and also added other services like GeoGlouse, providing that stream flow opportunity to even to look at other water bodies across the continent. This is quite a useful service as well for all the users that have listened to today's recording, and also access to the Digital Africa water bodies, which was a recent service and has been launched recently with an example of Lake Baringo. So with Esri, it's a really great partnership and collaboration, and also opportunities to connect with all the communities and user forums, as well as the massive online courses where you'll get a certificate of participation. So thank you so much, everybody, for connecting with us. This session will be shared with you, and also looking forward to connecting with you next week, where my colleague Joseph will be here. We'll be having the same session in French. This will be the 30th of October, and the 31st will be having a very special session in Arabic for everybody. Digital Africa is here to make sure no one is left behind. Thank you so much, everybody, and we connect with you next time. Bye.
Thank you, guys.